Hey guys, Matt. A couple notes before chapter 54. I was talking with Greg yesterday and a few days back, and I forgot two of the key points in making that JFK presentation very, very quickly. It's kind of like bookshelves. At the very start of it, the first thing was CBS News Bulletin. CBS News Bulletin. Bulletin. Hey, I'm well aware the term bulletin is associated with news. Rather ironic. Bulletin. And then, of course, the all-seeing eyes glowing at you. Then it gets into the breaking report with Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather showing no emotion. Almost like it was a script. Very interesting. The last part, I forgot also. After the breaking news, they went right to that, was it Nescafe or Maxwell House commercial with the swinging pendulum? You're getting very sleepy, you American masses, you poor devils. I forgot the commercial. I mean, that's just, you throw that on top. I mean, come on. Anyway, also talking with Greg about a few things very, very quickly. Going to keep exploring the triple conspiracy idea and how there's that second level, basically like the graduated animal farm, where they want to trap you and I into noticing certain things, but never leaving that second level. Almost everything's a third level, and then I'm even just thinking about a fourth level, which I'll discuss later, which is really out there. And then Greg and I were talking about basically all these civilizations, the civilizations that created the pyramids, the pyramid of the Temple of the Sun and Moon, the Mexican pyramids, and all these megaliths all over the world. It's amazing how there's no trace of them anymore, like they literally just disappeared. And that's something very few people in our community talk about. And we have to really talk about that more. And we kind of really out there with some of the theories, theories related to their society maybe achieving their own singularity. I mean, there's some things we definitely need to discuss, but they just disappeared without a trace. And then the new generation comes along and they can't interpret the hieroglyphics. All of this makes no sense. How everybody just went away. I even have some, well, I'm not even going to get into some of the theories, but they're fascinating to discuss, and we'll talk about it in a video within, by the end of the week, say. Chapter 54. Anybody who eventually notices the hijacking of reality here can see society's subtle changes over time, over a long period of time, with society's perverted new implementations constantly being thrown at us. We can see none of it was done to benefit the human race. It's to benefit them. With about 100 families, it is what it seems, owning about half of the world's wealth. At least a few of us can clearly see this reality wasn't manipulated to benefit us. Never has been. Instead, they've inserted the term rat race, and the people around us run the maze looking for their cheese like everything's just normal. It's just capitalism. What are you, a communist? Don't you like the capitalist system that we have? Sure, I'm supposed to love this system that puts all the wealth into the hands of about 150 people. But it seems like Adam Smith's hand, whether invisible or not, tightens around everybody's balls year after year. For women, it's a titty twist. If a crime's been committed, and one's been committed on us for a very long time, it's just natural to want to be Sherlock Holmes and find out who done it. Who is this Adam Smith, and why is there an invisible hand up my ass? They want us to get stuck on that level. Who done it? If we're going to know who hijacked reality, we'd have likely figured it out by now or a long, long time ago. Most criminals just want to get away with it. And most criminals, they sneak away quietly. They don't want to leave any evidence, of course. Not these criminal controllers. No. They do the crime, and then they plant on purpose 1 million false fingerprints all over the place. And they want us, the mutants and the half-mutants, stuck looking in all directions for who done it, following the breadcrumb trail. They want us in an endless game of Clue. They want us examining the 4-mile-long galactic police lineup of the to ID the reality hackers. They want us to ID the reality hackers in their police lineup. Who done it? Well, here they come, as they stand one next to the other, as you stand behind the protection of the one-way mirror. Here come the Anunnaki. Here come the Skull and Bones. Here comes Satan himself. Come aliens and Nephilim and Rothschilds and interdimensional demons and Lucifer, which many people think are separate from Satan, but other people think is the same as Satan. Here comes the Queen waddling out. And of course Enlil and Enki and Anu and Isis and Moloch and Archons, Baal. Okay, forget it. Forget that police lineup. Stop looking for the bastards. It doesn't matter who done it. Our plan for ourselves is exactly the same, no matter who done it. Walk away from that police lineup. As Juliet would say, what's in a name? A bush creature by any other name would still stink as much. To recap other sections. Identify and see the script being laid out for you, and then starve the controllers in every action and every decision you make for the rest of your life. The user guide to this life as delivered by the controllers. It's like a gigantic, those old yellow pages, but thick, 1,000 pages of their user guide. Yeah, sure, we should read their whole book, read their whole guide, and then just do the exact opposite of what it suggests in the directions. The invisible hand then will lose its grip. When you see on the instruction page, on page 1 of this phone book, that says, you graduate college, asswipe, and immediately go $250,000 to $300,000 in debt for a house and a car, then don't do it. When the script shows you that you should be in awe and love the red carpet celebrities giving idiotic interviews before the Oscars, don't give it any attention. If the state says you must marry under the auspices of a government's marriage license, go the other way. Why does anybody need government to get married? Isn't that what's that Peckerwood boy's name in Cold Mountain? Jude Law came back from the Civil War, and then he caught up again with Nicole Kidman, and they just said, I marry you 3 times, and they're married? They didn't have to march around the Smoky Mountains looking for a marriage license. One of their greatest tricks is to get people to believe that this life and this experience is all there is, all there ever will be. From the perspective of Carl Sagan's cosmos and his billions and billions of stars, your life is nothing. And by the way, you're in the middle of trillions of miles of blackness of space all by your lonesome, you poor devils. Sure, that's part of the trick that they play. But this life is a blink of an eye. It's just a cosmic joke. It is a short experience, but it's not all there is. They've successfully convinced people that this life and gathering its yellow-soaked fruit is oh so important. Your job and social standing is paramount to everything. But looking down from like 20,000 feet, we who have a clue about what's going on and a clue in finding ourselves, we see that this life is just a simple experience in a long journey. It's just a 1-minute baseball game where only one pitch is allowed to be tossed on either side. Most games end in a tie. This short life is a comic book with one character and one tiny sentence of dialogue. It's not much more than that. So why should we place so much stock in it, so much importance in it? You know, if you could look down at yourself, you'd be very upset at yourself for worrying about missing a bill, or not, worrying about not keeping up with the Joneses and the stupid petty things we worry about. It's ridiculous if you back up from our lives far enough and look down on yourself. Trust me, if you really were convinced you were an immortal spirit and saw this life for how short it really is, you would go about your life entirely differently, instead of with the endless attachment and coveting of materialism, celebrity, and bullshit. I know most people listening to this aren't there, but many people reading may be. And what do we covet, Clarice? We covet what we see every day on the screen that they've painted around us. Well, I added the screen part. That was not in the original Silence of the Lambs, and the bastard with the slick back hair didn't say that. A Francis Dunnery song, I will leave a link, provides the best advice ever laid down in music for us, and says, because the only thing you get to keep is what you give away. Again, I will leave a link if it's still on YouTube. Fear feeds them, so fear nothing. This is accomplished by knowing who you are, an immortal being, having an experience here on Earth, whatever this 3D realm is, and while you're here, limiting attachment whenever possible, and cutting the invisible ties to the system itself and to the screen. The screen or the system has put ties into us from birth, attachments, invisible strings, getting us to foster our own invisible Jacob Marley chains. So once we realize this, the back end of our life should be about cutting these chains off. That's it, cutting the chains off. Detaching. The system is expert at presenting a million things you should be attached to, and then making you afraid of losing all that shit. Remember what else they feed on: anger. Don't get pissed off at Trump or Hillary or the damn government. Don't yell and rant and rave and carry on. That's the script everybody follows around us. They want you to get pissed off at them. And they're playing their roles in a precise way to elicit that emotion. The system was designed to be the most fucked up thing in the world on purpose. People think it's the best people can do, a government working by and for. Are you kidding me? Designed to piss you off. Like the Keymaker may say in the Matrix movie, the controllers may pop up and the George Bush creatures would say, "This is what I'm doing here? Pissing you off? This is simply my purpose." And it may be that simple. Oh, this section coming up? Atheists, you can skip this section. Atheists, it's not important to you. We live, then we just go into the dirt. What else could there be? There's no immoral aspect of yourself, no divine element. There's no importance at all in the wonders of this world. In the end, we're no different than a pile of old tires to an atheist at a junkyard, discarded after 100,000 miles. Or maybe we're even like sea monkeys. Somebody just mixed us up for fun. As for you and me, doesn't your inner knowing tell you that you are so much more? If you really think inside and kind of turn off the screen. That creepy John Mayer sang in one of his earliest songs, "Bigger than my body gives me credit for." A truth job? Yeah, probably. Let me ask you atheist scientists, you poor devils yourselves, how do you reconcile the second law of thermodynamics? That's your unbreakable law that everything goes towards entropy. Everything in the universe moves towards a more chaotic, degraded state, degenerated state. Like the way my old dorm room used to look at the end of the first semester. You lovers of Einstein worship entropy and make it your second law of thermodynamics. Like, for example, last week a kid built a sandcastle at the beach. At the end of the day, when he left the beach, the sandcastle was perfect, still perfect. But what does that sandcastle look like today? Conversely, could the same sand ever just come together and form back the sandcastle on its own? No, that wouldn't happen in a billion or even a trillion years. The only thing that can break their law of entropy is if energy and intent is applied to a thing to stop or reverse the entropy. A fat alcoholic has let entropy get the best of him. To restore himself, he must put some alcohol down, he must get to the gym, and he must even avoid eating cheesesteaks on his way home. See, just avoiding eating cheesesteaks is applying intent and energy that pushes back against the entropy. Doesn't the appearance of life itself on a noxious planet smack the sacred law of science right in the face? The universe blowed up billions of years ago, they say, but violating this law of physics, we have life popping up? Well, I thought it goes towards entropy. We have the highest order in the universe coming out of the highest chaos imaginable. Life is impossible by their very own laws. Go ahead, go grab your old jigsaw puzzle, blow it up with an M80, and wait for the image of Madonna's saggy butt to appear again someday in the wind. That's how scientists explain life. It just popped up. Absolute morons. They're not even consistent. And it violates their own laws, and they just ignore it when it goes against their dogmas. The wise man just says he doesn't or she doesn't know. Hey atheists, you may have also heard this one from your heroes. Energy in the universe cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change states. This is similar to E = mc squared. At this moment on Earth, somewhere, a person is alive. Wait 5 seconds. Now that person is dead. What happened to the tremendous energy that animated him or her throughout their entire lifetime, if energy, atheist scientists, cannot be created nor destroyed? Was it sucked up by Hillary Clinton? As acting as her, flying around in a black cape as a dementor? Maybe. But there it still can't be created or destroyed. So we thank you, MIT egghead scientist atheists, for helping us prove the existence of our immortal soul. Not like we needed it, but your own science proves it, as if we needed any help. Step back and observe what's going on in society's script with the endless power of your inner knowing, your inner tuning fork. What does the script of this reality tell us regarding death? How should we be or act around death? The script says death is horrible. It's to be feared, reinforced in thousands of TV shows and movies. Such a horrible, sad thing. Isn't that convenient for the entities that feed off fear? We're told death is so tragic, and we all should just cry over black caskets for our loved ones and wear black. I don't follow the script any longer, do you? Observing the script, we've learned that the truth is almost always the exact opposite of what the Matrix puts on our cue cards. If Agent Smith wants a fight, tell him you'll meet him on the field after school, and then simply don't show up. Death, then, is nothing to be feared. That's the way I interpret it at this point, for a lot of different reasons, not just looking at the screen and seeing what the screen wants me to do. But that certainly helps prop up my concept of death. That's completely been rewritten from personally. I'm going off book now in the last 10 years. Death of this avatar is just part of the journey of our eternal spirit. Death should probably be celebrated. If the Dark Controllers say stop, that tells me I should go forward. When you're dreaming and the alarm goes off, is that a horrible death? This life of illusion compared to the next manifestation, probably right there, upon our death, it may be no different than just waking up in the morning like we do every day. Death is probably waking up from a dream. I've called this reality. My best interpretation, as dumb as this sounds right now, is a dream that mated with a video game, and the video game is in the process of being hijacked. That's the best I can do at this point, but it's probably somewhat accurate. At the moment of your death, or mine, you may pop up and say, wow, all that nonsense now makes sense. I understand what that shit was for. But why did I stress over all that petty bullshit on Earth? It could be that simple. And although nobody knows for sure, such a positive, simple idea will never come from the mainstream, will it? You will never see the CBS Evening News interviewing a woman who, for example, just had a near-death experience, who says, for example, death is as simple as waking up in the morning. No, that message is too uplifting, too positive for the CBS eye. Instead, they'll show you a bunch of victims' families faking sadness, and in real tragic events, they'll show you the real sadness. But either way, it has to be tragic, and it has to be so sorrowful and horrible. The system won't allow a positive message about death to go out in a medium people take seriously, like the news. They'll absolutely let the message out, though, in movies, and through truth drops, and in strange places like even a cartoon. So if Don Lemon, that horrible creature, ever mentioned anything like what I'm saying here concerning death, something uplifting, I'd be very concerned. Why is Don Lemon saying that? Because I'm supposed to go the opposite way of what that jerk says. So I'm thrilled he never mentions this sort of thing. There's a repeating theme we've heard our entire lives about people who have sold their soul to the devil. To me, this is likely an analogy, and if so, it applies in tiny bits and pieces to every one of us. It's not literally sitting down with Satan and writing your soul out in blood. I don't interpret it that way. But we know for sure that this matrix control system wants us entering into as many contracts with it as possible. We know this screen around us is all about getting us to link to it in some way through these tiny contracts. As mentioned, this is best demonstrated by the biggest, quote, soul contract of all, voting. Essentially, voting is like this. A man sits in a chair watching TV. Every day, somebody enters his house and slaps him in the face. He doesn't object to it or say anything. He may actually act like he enjoys his daily slap by singing songs about the slap. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and all these other ridiculous songs for jerks. The act of voting gives the system the permission it needs to say to the cosmic karma judges, Your Honor, we aren't doing anything to these poor devils. I mean sovereign souls. that they don't want done to them. Look, look, we have a video of it, Your Honor. Check it out. They take off work to go vote in our elections. They watch TV shows on these Sunday morning shows all day long about politics and our elections. They love it. They actually give out money and hand out flyers to breathe life into our campaigns. So what do you mean they don't like the slap they get every day and we've crossed the line? You're right. I've ruled. Continue the slap. Many of us sense these endless contracts and agreements all around us every day, and we're beginning to notice. We have an overwhelming sense that they can't do anything without our permission. They need permission of some kind. Now, this is the main reason society is set up to be a massive trick. We must be tricked into creating the reality they want, not what is best for us. It's like the Rothschild and the Soros types have a seed. They have no soil, no water. They don't even have garden tools. They must simply trick their gardener, us, to plant it, to nurture it, and water it for them, so it grows into some sick shape that they want. We must raise the crops and grow the fruit trees for them. Again, I'm not saying they're lazy. I'm saying they likely can't do it in this realm themselves. They are incubus and succubus, quote, demons by definition. An incubus is like a vampire and needs something to feed from. We must be tricked to offer up our wrist. If we are the real builders here, or quantum reality creators, then we just need to come to the realization that we collectively can create any reality we want. Okay? If not individually, collectively. We've been tricked into thinking we need to use their middlemen for everything, and we need to use their matrix agents. We are architects and engineers who keep asking for someone else's sick blueprints. When we get them, the blueprints are actually Hannibal Lecter's drawings. That's the Duomo scene, Clarice, from the Belvedere. You know Florence? Of course, she has no fucking idea what he's talking about, so she shifts gears and says, all that from memory, just memory, Dr. Lecter? Memory's all I have, Clarice. Sorry. Prisoners in orange jumpsuits are often forced to work. But as far as I know, they've never been asked to build their own prison cells as we have. We do that every day. Then we sing country music songs to praise it. It's beyond the scope of this book, and I'm not expert here, but it's worthwhile for all of us to conduct a full investigation into breaking contracts. I don't mean contracts between you and the guy who cuts your grass. I mean like cosmic, some sort of soul contracts that may exist, or anything you were possibly tricked into doing in this lifetime, the last, or whenever. Anything you were tricked into doing to prop up the George Bush creatures of this realm, using your own spiritual essence to do it, or one of your tokens, if you will. For example, like we've talked about, just using all caps first name, all caps last name, the straw man, to breathe life into this matrix every day is also a type of contract that needs you to agree to their game, and in some way needs to be broken, even if you, as we need to go buy food, right? We need to continue to use your first name, last name, but I think there's ways of going about it where you can continue to use it but not breathe life into it or empower it. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Some people have a very simple solution. Just declare contracts broken with intention. Now don't read the following or listen to the following and say I, unless it is your intention. But you probably should think about this. But for example, I might say, I use the system's own language against it and renounce any contract I've ever made in any way that ties me to this realm. Any contract that got me to do anything that I truly didn't want to do or what was best for me. Nothing can bind me to this realm. Contracts based on a trick can be eventually shown to be a fraud. And one more thing, Senator. When I say I don't mean the straw man fiction created for me of capital first name, capital last name. I may have to use that name while on this realm to put food on the table, but it's not me, and I'm not bound to it and attached to it. Adam Smith's hairy hand just, hopefully, got a bit looser. Personally, I'm not going to overlook the basic solutions that have to do with the simple declaration of intent. Now, if these actions or these type of actions seem dumb or they're not that cool, it's probably the script whispering to us, "Oh, that's dumb. You don't do anything like that." If they seem not cool, it probably means we should do it. I don't want to listen to the script, what it whispers to me. We don't want one of these bastards telling us a million years from now, like I've said many times, but this is something we can't forget. Some creature saying, the reason you were not allowed to get out is because you never asked to get out. It says, you asshole, you had the power all along. There was no key because you were the key. Now, like I've said, I don't like the word ask. Like I'm just saying it. We just kind of, we don't ask the ether for anything. But I kind of present it that way because it's easier to understand. I'm not taking that chance, will you? I'm going to declare everything I need to declare and make my intention very, very clear. We've seen that theme before in movies. Now, I will make my intention clear, as I've said. Simply tell them now, and upon your death, they have no power over you. Relinquish any contracts that you were tricked into. Look for them, find them, and relinquish them. Notice them. Noticing is one of the things we must do. Most people, what do? They just go blindly through life, the people around us. Seeing it is the first step. We've already passed the first step because everybody here sees it. Now, if Bob Dylan, for example, really did sign in blood, like what did he tell Ed Bradley in that 60 Minutes interview? If he really signed in blood, then I suspect that's much harder to get out of. Hopefully we never did anything like that in any lifetime. And the Soul Trap recycling system, I don't know for sure. I'm not pushing that. Okay, I just keep that on the table. The wise man says he doesn't know, so I'm not taking that off the table. I'm planning for all contingencies, okay? Remember, it's likely the reason they've crafted this prison planet in such a way, with our help, of course, is because we've given them both contractual and implied permission to get screwed over. Nothing out our window could be done unless we contractually agreed to it. In my opinion, they need permission. We know the power of visualization and intention. Think of your immortal self in a powerful way, both now, right now, and after your death. That they just can't touch you. There's a radiance around you. They can't touch you. I mean, we have to carry ourselves that way. We know that we need to do that. Because, of course, it's simple because we can see what the screen constantly tries to do to all of us. It just degrades. It tries to belittle constantly. It instills learned helplessness at every turn. It wants you whittled down to the little representation of Gollum or Schmeagol in Lord of the Rings. That's where it wants you, and that's where it's taking most people. So do the opposite. Think of yourself here as a part of something much greater. Think of a reunification of yourself of some kind, if I'm describing this correctly. A reunification that's inevitable whenever we observe their fragmentation tactics. They try to fragment and split, don't they? And I don't know metaphysically how this works, but they're always trying to fragment or split us. Now, talk about that further, in the weeks ahead. I don't have my hands around that exactly myself, but I can see their tactics. I mean, this system is big on the branching and infinite realities theory now, isn't it? You know that every decision we make, we branch off into another reality. Oh, this system and screen is big on that right now. There's a reason for that. I'm trying to figure it out. But it's nothing new. It's just getting bigger. Even Stephen Hawking's books and other physicists 20, 30 years ago, they talked about branching realities, one of the 7 or 8 accepted principles of how the universe works. And for those that don't know, these scientists literally would say that, oh, I just decided to pick up this soda and have a sip. Well, in another reality, I didn't. And then they branched off. And we have different realities, trillions and trillions going on. I don't buy it. It doesn't sit right with me. But it's the same as Colin's speech in the Black Mirror episode, Bandersnatch. Very interesting. There's little truth drops in all of this, but it doesn't sit right with me that there's a million little Matts running around doing all different things and branching realities. It doesn't sit right. And there's a reason. If they push it onto us, I try to notice, what's the reason? What is their intention on pushing this so hard? Now, I don't care if there's a version of myself in some reality somewhere with a whole harem in the Hollywood Hills, a whole harem. No thanks. Now that this system has sprinkled its disgusting syrup all over everything, this realm sucks. But there's still beauty here. There's still parts of heaven here. This realm is an intersection of heaven and hell that's been overrun, in my opinion. The hell is being squeezed out, the heaven is being squeezed out, and the hell is being created exponentially. Okay, so I'm done with it. If there are other aspects of myself, whatever that means, then we're all not coming back to this realm. That's my declaration. If you've horcruxed me in any way, then I'm reunifying myself, you sick son of a bitch. Think of nothing having the ability to manipulate you or send you where you don't want to be. And I don't like those words. I'm going to change that in the book, because the best way to do it is not think of something in the future. The only way to do it is to think it exists now. And I'm not crazy about the term, but people say just step into it. It already exists now. You just have to step into it and do it. Not that it will come in the future. That's never the way to think about that. Whether you believe in quantum reality creation or not, that doesn't work. I'll start tomorrow. I'll lose the weight later. I'll become something in the future. No, the only way it works, whether we're talking metaphysical life and death or anything applied to this world, is it exists now. That's why fake it to make it works, and talk about that later. Of course, think of yourself, or just right now, you are there. You're just becoming, or you have become too powerful to ever be tricked again. That's it. It's that simple. And you start practicing this now. The realm here is backwards. We know in every regard it's backwards. What does everybody here do? They weight lift and they exercise to strengthen the avatar. Well, what's the equivalent for the soul? Where's the cardio and the weightlifting for the soul? All I have to do, I guess, is wait for Jesus and sit on my thumb. Now, I'm sorry if any Christians got upset at me. We're in the same foxhole together. There are millions of people waiting for Jesus. I'm sorry. It's appropriate for some people to hear that. But what would Jesus say? You lazy bastards? You didn't interpret my teachings correctly at all. So visualize yourself as a powerful being right now. Just step into it. It'll pay immediate dividends. It will pay immediate dividends, not in preparing yourself for tricks that come at life after death. That it will pay immediate dividends now, right now in this life, at a minimum. It will improve your condition. And as we all do that, the collective consciousness breathes the life that we want into the reality that we want. The screen stands before us, and everybody watches the Spike Lee screen so intently. And what ultimately is created and is reflected back is some sort of perversion. I really believe, and there's almost no other alternative if you've examined every facet of how this reality works. I believe collectively we create this material plane through thought and intention. I mean, why else is the screen reflecting all of its perversion back? The screen comes at us. We manifest it and build the perversion. That's so clear how the George Bush creatures work at this point. It's similar to the power of prayer. Now, in terms of focusing the intention correctly, this is why the main activity of the Dark Ones is to trick us to create the hellhole that they feed on. This is why we must observe the system and then focus our attention on what we want the world to be. Not what the creepy characters like Jared Kushner and Donald Rumsfeld want. We've always been focused on what they want. It's incredible we've fallen for this shit. The key in doing this is to believe, like I said, it's just worth repeating, it's already here. It's not something coming soon or coming next May. This is universally true in any goal you ever have. It's already here. In 3 years I'll be this, or I'll do that, or I'll get in shape. That's a loser's mentality. It's implanted by the system to think like that. The proper technique is you've already done it. You just simply have to step into it. Again, like I said, that's why the fake it to makers, it actually works. From what I've never faked it to make it, but they say it works. Okay, there's a lot of reasons why it would work, and the proponents of it are very big on it. Same with The Secret. You know, the Secret. But that's like the quantum reality creation techniques in a video and in a book they put out called The Secret. But it's a hijack, because the final plateau they want you to reach is simple materialism and sex acts. The secret gives a lot away as to what we truly can accomplish collectively. But again, they want it perverted. The secret will always talk to you about getting the big speedboat and the second house and owning the Ferrari. Again, right at the last corner, it'll pervert. But the secret amazingly still tries to harness the creative powers. Okay, that's very interesting to me. But once again, they've hijacked the reality creation concepts. And they try to manipulate the people who can actually manifest these things. And ultimately, we're all trained to breathe more life into the screen. Read the book or watch the movie The Secret sometime. The end result is always materialism. How wonderful for them. My Ferrari out front breathes life into their sick system. I don't have a Ferrari out front. It's far more powerful to focus on the world we want instead of fighting against the world of hell that they try to create every day. See, total difference. But what do they have us doing? Watching Fox News and lashing out against it. That's the opposite of what we should be doing. It's like putting makeup on a tumor, trying to fight their sickness directly instead of just creating what we want. No, it's not a tumor. A man who plans to take up arms against the government is not creating the world he wants. He's fighting the world they already created, which means he's actually breathing life into their sick reality and pretty much doing exactly what they want. One cannot use their system to fight and punish their system. When I hear people talk about Hillary Clinton and Anthony Weiner types going off to jail, I have to laugh. So let me get this straight. You're going to take criminals into the criminal justice system that the criminals created, which is a system run by the same criminals. It's like fighting an Abramovich spirit cooking party by having one of your own at the same time. Think about it. The path of a true human being should be, of course, about 180 degrees away from the path the system points us toward with its pissed-on breadcrumbs. Now, this metaphor, as I've said before, it's worth mentioning again, is outlined best in the movie Dances with Wolves. There's a scene with John Dunbar, Kevin Costner, and Kicking Bird after Dunbar is being integrated into the tribe. Kicking Bird says that he observes Dunbar is now choosing the path of a real human being. Over the course of the movie, we see the slow progression from Kevin Costner's character as a Civil War soldier to a member of the Native American tribe, Sioux, I believe. Now, notice the path our lovely system, this loving system, what path did it have Dunbar on? Not Dunbar, Dunbar. It led him right into or onto the battlefield in the middle of murder and his own attempted suicide. Thank you, sick system. That's showing us where the system leads us. Hopefully, metaphorically. The system, what did it show us? It showed us Costner's commander pissing himself and then blowing his head off. Now, spending time with the Sioux Indians, his inner spirit became aligned with its true path of life learning, not one created by a psychotic screen. Inner purity of spirit is then reflected outwardly in John Dunbar, not Dunbar, Dunbar. His name changes to Dances with Wolves, not the legal fiction straw man that the system collected his taxes from. His clothes change too, as he leaves the soldier's fort behind. The movie shows one man's path from the heart of the beast system itself in the middle of war itself to the journey of discovering the nature of a true human being. Love, caring, respect for nature, contribution to others, and attraction to Tatanka. Now, look, people will scream at me, how could Hollywood let something like that out? Hollywood is a manifestation of the beast system. They don't ever work for us. I'm well aware of that. Who are you talking to here? Sometimes, for some way, the best way I describe it, so that they don't get pulled into the cosmic court, they show us a lot of stuff. They have to, for some reason. Okay? It's not all bad. They don't want to do it, I'm sure. But sometimes I believe they have to. Okay, guys, a few notes just to sum this up away from the book. Finally, again, we're getting into the positives. Finally, And we will continue to look at the sixth system, but always try to work in the positive way that we can do for ourselves. That's definitely where we are now, and we need to be that way moving forward, always sprinkling in the positives and what path we should take in terms of what we notice. But the endless fraud in the beginning, the endless examination of the sixth system, and the endless lies, I really still believe it was absolutely necessary, whether it be for the old guard or somebody just, getting their feet wet in terms of these topics, because you'll see at the end it seems like that the solutions are incredibly simple. It can be summed up on one page in the end, but nobody would ever take that one page seriously if you didn't see the endless fraud. You just wouldn't. There would be no close examination of that simple final chapter if we didn't see the endless fraud. So it has to be there, and I'm glad that everybody that's still here, we put that much time examining the fraud. And if I'm titling this chapter something to do with very positive messages finally going to appear in the book. But there's going to be about 10 to 15% of people that are in this truth community. They're so addicted to the negative. It's like an adrenaline addiction. They want the negative. They want to see a video that planet Nibiru is inbound and we have so much time left before the economic collapse comes. 10 to 15% are, or to all of us to a degree, have been addicted to the negative. We must understand that, notice it in ourselves, and exercise it out of ourselves. For example, if anybody listening to this saw the title of this video and was like, oh, it's not going to be a really horrific breakdown of another fraud, and you wanted that instead of this, you have to seriously think about where you're going. Okay? I was there too. We've all been addicted to it. Oh, a mass shooting. Oh, we can break it down. Another shooting. I've been there. We have to exercise that out of us. Don't kid yourself. A big percentage of people here are absolutely still addicted to the negative.